when you're going through a difficult season, you can't always see what God's up to. Anybody ever felt that way? You're going through things and you just say, God, it sure would be helpful if you kind of did a little GPS, a little guidance here so I could figure out exactly why what I'm going through is somehow going to help in the bigger picture. When I'm not preaching at different churches, I attend Saddleback Church in Huntington Beach. And I've watched in amazement as Rick and Kay Warren, over this past year, have been incredibly transparent with a devastating season in their life when their son committed suicide. And in the aftermath, after taking 3 or 4 months off, Rick came back and he did a series, How to Get Through What You're Going Through. And as he began to talk and be transparent and talk about the unbelievable loss that he felt, there were some messages where literally as I sat and I listened to him, tears were just pouring down through my on my face. And I just began to think, wow. God didn't cause Matthew to kill himself. But God was able to use that and has been able to use that to be able to take Rick and Kay and give them the ability to speak into the loss and the hurt of people who have lost loved ones. God has the capacity to use hurtful times to accomplish something great inside of us and through us. In the book of 2 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul provides another reason for how God can take tough times and use them in a positive fashion. Listen to this amazing confession. 2 Corinthians 12. He says, to keep me from becoming conceited because of these surpassingly great revelations, there was given me a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan, to torment me. Now, we aren't told exactly what the thorn in the flesh was. You might be a budding theologian, and we can talk later about what all those things might be. But the point is that Paul repeatedly asked for God to relieve him of those things, and God never granted his request. And here's part of the insight that we get. Here's reason number 2. God may allow hurtful times to remove our self-sufficiency. The simple reality is that we live in one of the most affluent eras and times in the history of mankind. And sometimes that affluence kind of connects with our sense of comfort and not to have things disrupt us. But see, folks, God is interested in growing our dependence upon Him. If Chris would let me, I would talk for the next 10, 15 minutes about my 2 grandchildren. I'm going to have pictures up, and oh my gosh, I'm a totally out of control grandfather. I admit it. I used to laugh at guys that are a little bit older than me because they would just go crazy over their grandkids. I don't laugh anymore. I'm one of those out of control grandfathers. We have a granddaughter, Everly, 2.5 years. We have a grandson, Russell, 2 months. And as I watch these 2 little ones, I'm amazed at how utterly dependent they are upon their parents and their grandparents. I mean, you just can't leave them and say, hey kids, going out to see a good movie, have a great night, you know, hope you can change yourself, hope you can go in the fridge, do whatever you need, and make sure you go to bed at a reasonable time. I mean, you just can't do that. Kids are absolutely dependent. We were meant to be dependent upon our Heavenly Father for everything. That there's a lie going out that somehow there comes a point in our Christian maturity in which we outgrow dependency upon God. It's a lie. Remember when Jesus, when the little kid brought a lunch to him? 5 loaves, 2 fish. And the disciples said, oh, come on, kid. This is clearly not politically correct. Come on. But Jesus used that as an illustration of how he was able to take something very little and use it for great things. And to demonstrate to the disciples that sometimes, even though I don't enjoy the things that you're going through in terms of loss and hurt, I'm able to use those things to remind all of us of a greater dependency upon him.